Hello, my name is Kathleen Mah, and today I will be presenting my paper entitled COVID-19 and Black Lives Matter, Bodies and Comfort Fragility. Before I start, I would like to acknowledge that I am presenting from Lethbridge, which is on the lands of the Blackfoot people of the Canadian Plains, and I pay respect to the Blackfoot people, past, present, and future, while recognizing and respecting their cultural heritage and beliefs. The city of Lethbridge is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. So what piqued my interest initially in this subject was this notion of living in unprecedented times. What does unprecedented mean? Does it mean the same thing to everyone? And what exactly makes something unprecedented, and how do we embody this? The realization I came to is what Naomi Klein refers to as intersecting crises. It is not living through the pandemic alone that makes our lives unprecedented. It is the fact that the pandemic is unfolding during other very large events in our lives, like the BLM movement, climate change, etc. We cannot examine these events as if they are occurring in a vacuum. Circumstances and experiences of life are fundamentally dependent on the interaction of these crises, along with our individual positionalities that existed pre-pandemic and continue to affect our lives now. This led me to attempt to find something tangible that I could organize my research around. And I found this in the mask. The mask, as a medicalization of everyday life, has become almost entirely politicized and racialized. For some, it has come to represent more than just health and safety, but a tool of state control, of white oppression, and something that separates the sheeple from the people. This brought me to the question, what is it about our bodies that is producing vastly different conceptualizations of the mask? My research, which was done completely online, was able to partly answer this question through the exploration of the individual body, the body politic, and the social body. Now, for clarity's sake, I've included just a few definitions. The individual body represents the lived experiences of a person in which they feel the effects of the world around them. The social body is a symbol where dominant social values, arrangements, readings, and cultural systems interact to create a commentary of self. The body politic is where social regulation and control interact to produce dominant and acceptable bodies, and consequently, unacceptable bodies. Now, the fourth body is the mindful body, and unfortunately, I could not explore it in the study because I wasn't able to personally reach out to people and ascertain the way that they would conceptualize their choice of both participating in the comments and the content of their comments. Now, these bodies are from the work of Nancy Shepherd Hughes and Margaret M. Locke from their paper, The Mindful Body, which was published in 1987. Now, the picture that you're seeing on your screen right now is what my research revolved around. I observed the comment section on the singular post in order to try and analyze the way that the internet has become this kind of like unmediated space and that allows for complex negotiation of our bodies. Now, I broke the comment section up into three kind of categories. The boundaries between these are very permeable. The first were complaints about price and jabs at BLM being anti-capitalist, yet selling a product, all something along the lines of, quote, man, if this isn't the biggest oxymoron grab of the century, end quote. Which, of course, we cannot call these comments neutral in any way. Many of these had extremely racist undertones. The next category, which was the smallest overall, were ones that showed support for masks and BLM, as demonstrated here by this comment. Quote, ordered for us here in Maui last week, Black Lives Matter, we are with you all the way out here in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. These types of comments exclaimed excitement in buying these particular masks or the encouragement of mask use in general. The third category, which unfortunately was the largest, were ones with overtly racist language and beliefs, in which both disdain for mask usage and the BLM movement itself were expressed. These comments range from comparing the BLM movement to that of Nazi Germany. Quote, your freedom and justice is like in Germany's World War II. All colors except for your own is worthy to live. Have you noticed that? Hitler did what you want to accomplish with your protests. Total wipeout of everyone but black. That's the Nazi way, end quote, to disbelief in systemic racism and the existence of the pandemic in general, to accusations that both the Black Lives Matter movement and masks were a way for the state to maintain control of the country. If you can imagine, there was actually far worse comments out there than the ones that I've included. Some of the subject matter was just absolutely abhorrent, and I just could not include it in this presentation. So for over 2,000 comments on this post, the vast majority fell either to the first or third category in which people expressed their feelings for masks, BLM, or the combination of both in BLM branding on the masks. These comments were a complete rejection of social responsibility across multiple dimensions. Whether that social responsibility took the form of wearing a mask to stop yourself and others from getting sick, or expressions of sympathy and solidarity of the causes of the BLM movement, like that of police brutality or systemic racism, as demonstrated by the following comment. Quote, I believe the debt is paid in full after you murdered cops and innocent people and stealing goods from businesses. Don't ask for anything, especially any sympathy. These comments reflected a certain level of social blindness in which the individual wanted absolutely nothing to do with what society was and still is asking of them and their bodies. So there is obviously some very complex and important processes unfolding that are creating such polarizing beliefs. How can people see this BLM post and think something along the lines of this, quote, young Black Americans are some of the world's most privileged people in the world, and they don't even realize it. They don't know how lucky they are. And some can see that very same post and commit to solidarity in mask usage. This is where the three bodies, as explored by Nancy Shepherd Hughes and Margaret M. Locke, were crucial to my research. For the most part, this isn't just simply hate speech for the sake of hate speech, although that's not to say that doesn't exist, because it definitely does. These comments were mostly active attempts to navigate and express the way that one's own body is being controlled and mediated in a time in which we're being asked to be extremely aware of our social responsibility to those around us. Every pressurized system needs a release valve, and for over 2,000 people, their release valve was the comment section of this post. However, as my research continued, I noticed there was yet another element to this pressurized system. It wasn't just about the expression of these three bodies. It was the way that these three bodies were both products and the cause of what I call comfort fragility. I will discuss this more in just a few moments, but for now, I would like you to think of it as the language and actions we use to express conceptions and thresholds of risk and discomfort. Very similar to the process of white fragility. In fact, I don't know if you could consider them as completely separable entities, but for now, just something to sit with. Now, in order to talk about this phenomenon of comfort fragility, I need to first talk about my findings about the individual body, the social body, and the body politic. In this study, the individual body was represented by the participation in the comment section, that very first choice. The social body as the content of the comments, and the body politic as reactions and social regulations that exist offline and online. These three bodies interact with each other to create immense amounts of pressure and discomfort. These people are under very real stress, and this stress produces those negative feelings towards BLM and masks. Now, I want to say that this is in no way an attempt to make an excuse for racism or anti-maskers, but it is important to know that not all these people come from a world of sheer privilege. It has been proven that many anti-maskers are, in fact, white, but that does not mean that they live in a world of pure comfort. Many of them are from very low economic communities and feel that they're no longer represented by the government. Their unique positionalities have produced intersectional pressures that makes them unable to handle discomfort that the pandemic and the BLM movement has created. For us, looking from the outside in, it's easy to see that this discomfort is not inherently a bad thing. Discomfort is how we learn and grow, and the Black Lives Matter movement is all about drawing attention to privileges that benefit us and questioning them. It's about making us uncomfortable with being comfortable. But these people see and feel this discomfort as a threat to their very livelihood. They are not necessarily accustomed to dealing with societal rejection of the way that they choose to manifest and live in their bodies. And for many of them, this is the first time that anything like this has ever happened. Anti-maskers are facing unknown amounts of social stress when asked to wear a mask in public, and their responses are indicative of a low threshold of social responsibility and collective health concerns. As anti-maskers push masks out of the medical realm into the social, they politicize the very object itself. So the difference in someone posting something like this, quote, support the BLM march with a self-inflicted gunshot to your head, end quote, or something like this, quote, I just ordered a bunch to support our cause, end quote, is a reflection of conditions of pre-pandemic social relations, in either trusting the state or not, in being able to handle discomfort or not. People have their beliefs shaped by the individual experience, in which our bodies are the interfaces of those experiences. Having said that, I can't stress how important it is to remember that homogenizing the experiences of those that participate in the comments is a problematic practice. I cannot say that all comments I surveyed were white people, just like I can't say that all white people are wealthy, homeful, or living in comfort. Whiteness is often situational and contingent on other factors. But what I can say is common is this threshold to discomfort, and how this discomfort stems from the way that the pandemic has exposed deep social gaps and unhappiness with circumstances. No matter where it comes from, a post with negative racist comments are doing so in an attempt to deal with their comfort fragility. And they are utilizing this fragility as a way to guard their bodies. Whether this discomfort comes from the state, quote, wear a mask and demonstrate how Big Brother controls you, or how the pandemic and the Black Lives Matter movement have called attention to social injustice and widespread inequality. Discomfort runs through absolutely all of it. So with that knowledge, I can define comfort fragility as the following. The threshold of discomfort a person holds based on productions of bodily positionality and social regulation, causing defensiveness and sensitivity around discussions of comfort. Basically, how much discomfort can I take before I react emotionally? This is a way to look at the intersection of the Black Lives Matter and the pandemic and how this is affecting people. The way we act under situations of pressure are reflections of what we experience, quote unquote, normally. Comfort fragility is about this intersection of race and the pandemic. It's about highlighting the navigational process in which we are all undergoing at this very moment. It brings our bodies into focus and allows us to see how they have changed and continue to do so throughout time as we continue to fight racial injustice, and keep each other safe through this pandemic. It allows us to see, even just slightly, how we are figuring out how to live in something that is unprecedented. So I would like to leave you with just a few questions. How is it that you are navigating these intersecting crises? How do your bodies and positionalities play into this? And what does it mean for you to live in something that is unprecedented? Thank you so much for watching.